stepped from the cover of the bushes out onto the open beach, the sand slipping past her sandals and covering her toes in warmth, even as the wind whipped her shoulder-length red hair in front of her eyes. Eva took a moment to secure her hair back and then trudged through the deep sand to the firmer ground near the waves. Warm as it was, the wind still held a hint of chill coming off the water, and she enjoyed it while the sun beat down on her with its unflinching heat. There were no clouds to be seen, just what felt like an endless beach with early vacationers or residents soaking up some sun on the sand. It was picturesque and stirred something inside of Eva, a longing to capture the feeling through a photo. Without much hope of success, Eva pulled out her camera again. She changed lenses to a wider angle and positioned herself to frame the water and the beach, giving the water more space in the shot to balance the endless blue sky. Taking a careful accounting of her settings and trying desperately to recall what she'd learned from the book she was reading, she set the aperture and shutter speed and pressed her finger down. Click. This time, when she pulled the camera back to take in her work, the anticipation making her heart beat faster, she was surprised to see she'd captured exactly what she wanted. Why can't I do that with people? She mumbled to herself. Sighing, she put the camera back to her eye and shifted a little. She featured the businesses lining the beach several hundred feet away, a few children playing in the sand, and then a man walking his dog by the ocean. She was careful not to get clear images of anyone's face, not wanting to infringe on their privacy. Then again, she knew no one would see these images since they were just for her. Each photo turned out close to what she'd intended. Oh, sure, some were a little too bright, but she'd read where there were programs that could fix that. Happier than she'd been when she left Kay and Pete, Eva headed down the beach with renewed excitement. The wind brought the scent of salt, and she breathed in deeply. It was nice to take time to enjoy where she'd lived. With the cases she'd worked alongside her book club and the new-to-town detective Jerome Makos, she had found it difficult to truly relax in the last few months. It was telling that while it had been almost 2 months since the last case, she still hadn't fully let her guard down. How could she when these cases had all but fallen into her lap? She raised her camera and took a shot of a man staring out toward the sea. He had a pensive look on his face under the deep brim of a straw hat, but something about him struck a memory in Eva. Uncle Sal sat with his back to the ocean staring out. A camera to the side of him, his eyes scanned the beach like a cat looking for a mouse, ever watchful, tense. "Can we get ice cream now?" young Eva asked. "Soon, honey. Just need to catch—" There he is. Uncle Sal lifted his camera up, placing his eye to the eyepiece and clicking away. Young Eva watched where his camera pointed, but she couldn't see anything. "What are you taking pictures of, Uncle Sal?" He took several more shots, the camera lens following the subject across the beach before he put the camera down, slipping it back into its case. "All right, Pumpkin, let's get that ice cream." Eva blinked out of her memory and kept walking along the beach, but she could still remember the way her Uncle Sal had looked. Focused, on the job, ready to do what it took, but he'd still made time for her. Some might have thought it was odd he'd brought his niece along for the ride while trailing a suspect for his private investigation business, but she'd loved every minute. Eva treasured the intrigue of days spent with her uncle on assignments, as he'd called them. She'd learned a lot from him, even going so far as to consider a career as a private investigator when she grew into her teen years and beyond, but her lawyer father and wealthy mother scoffed at the idea. In the end, she'd studied business management and international relations, though she'd never fully gotten past the bug of investigation. Perhaps that was why she was so invested in the cases she'd helped with in Key West. Taking a few more shots, Eva reached another trail that would take her back to the main street and on home to her bed and breakfast. Pausing at the mouth to the trail, she carefully tucked her camera back into her bag and zipped it up. If she'd learned anything that day, it was that she might be better at landscapes than portrait photography. And that was fine by her. "Hola, Dulzura!" "Hello, Ruben," Eva answered into the phone later that afternoon. She'd showered, uploaded her photos to her computer, and was now sitting at her desk in the main area of the Keys bed and breakfast doing paperwork for the business and working on her summer bookings. It was June, but school was letting out and things were promising to get busier and busier.